And at one moment, it happened that there was no voice coming from my mouth, though I am stuttering because no air means, and then I stopped breathing. That is a near death experience for me, and it creates strong anxiety.
You talk about death giving meaning to life, right? How can people transform the fear of death into motivation so that they can live their life full?
And the third one, I will say that coupleship, when I felt again in love with a girl who said me yes. And on that day, I know that that was the day when I slept dream free and completely for 7 to 8 hours. So I will say that that is the most memorable thing.
You emphasize the importance of purpose, and we'd like to understand from you what are the practical steps that someone can take to find purpose, even when life feels meaningless.
Yeah. The first thing I will say that.
So, folks, you have tuned into TGV, and hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series, the world's only quadrilingual podcast at this moment of recording. And we are trying to embark into multiple languages as we speak. And here we embark on transformative conversations for a better future. And we want to simplify and amplify your journey to success. I'm your host, Navin Samala, dedicated to making the world a better place by bringing you wisdom through valuable discussions with experts designed to simplify and amplify your success. And thank you so much for tuning in. So, folks, we are joined by Dr. Shirish Shole. He is an associate professor and head of the Department of Psychology at Mahavir Mahavidyalaya, Kolhapur, which is in Maharashtra state in India. And this is affiliated to Shivaji University. And with advanced training in clinical and industrial psychology, CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, and mindfulness, he explores profound questions on meaning, freedom, and self awareness, guiding others to live with authenticity and purpose. And today we are going to have an interesting conversation with Dr. Shirish Shole. It is about life's greatest gift, embracing the existence. Sounds interesting, isn't it? But before we get started, here is an exciting twist. Let us tickle our guest's brain. So, Dr. Shirish, get ready for a rapid
Yes.
fire round of random words, and I'll mention a few. And I would love to hear the first thing that comes to your mind in response without thinking much. So, if you're ready, let's get the ball rolling.
Hello, I'm Steve Ahern, one of the judges of the Asia Podcast Awards. I'm interrupting this episode to let you know that you're listening to an award-winning podcast. This podcast won its category in the 2024 Podcast Awards, so you know you're listening to quality. Enjoy your listening experience, and congratulations to the team who created this award-winning podcast for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. My first word is curiosity.
Curiosity is the gateway of knowledge.
Invention.
Invention is a two-edged sword.
Future.
Future is uncertain.
Universe.
Universe is evolving.
Leadership.
Leadership is courage.
Life.
Life is just what we can say, everything.
Okay. Death.
Death is certain.
Career.
Career is evolving. It's a going process, ongoing process.
Okay. Role model.
Every healthy person is my role model, you can say. Whoever I see.
Great. And the last word from my side is success.
Success is the recognition by established norms.
That is simply superb. I loved all your responses, and thank you so much for participating in the first rapid fire round. There is one more rapid fire round toward the end of the episode, so stay tuned. And first of all, Dr. Shiriji, hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series. And we are thrilled to have you part of our journey in shaping the careers and lives of millions across the globe. How are you doing today?
Thank you, sir, for calling me on this podcast. This is very nice platform to share my views, and I'm really thankful that it's out of blue I got this invitation.
Yeah, you can call me Naveen. I feel uncomfortable if you call me sir. I'm not reached there yet.
Okay, sir. Yes, yes.
Okay,
Okay,
all
okay.
right. So Dr. Shirish, talk to us about your guiding voice. Who is your guiding voice?
I will say that it's my conscience, because whenever I learn something, whenever I do something, then the meta analysis is done regularly by myself. So my conscience tells me that whether you were right or wrong, or whether you have to do certain things, whether you have to keep certain things aside, and all these things. And that conscience now help me, and it is evolving as well as it is growing one. So there is certain experimentation also in life, but the conscience is the main guiding force, I think.
Okay, wonderful. And now talk to us about your success mantra, as in the top three things that have contributed to your success so far.
Oh, if you ask me, then I can say that the first one, I will say that it is the striving for excellence drive. Then the second one is learnability, learning from mistakes as well as learning from the success also. And the third one is the multidisciplinary outlook, I will see, because everything is connected with everything. And just keeping growth in my own discipline is not enough. I should think about other disciplines and try to accommodate those learnings too.
That was crisp and clear. And now let's start getting into the conversation. First of all, I'm curious to understand the turning points that shifted your life journey from meaninglessness to meaningfulness.
Oh, I will say there are many one, because in life the transformations are happening many times for me at least. So if you ask me, the first incidents I remember is during my college days, when I was in 16 or 17. At
Mhm.
that time, I was felt in love for a girl, but that was completely one way.
Okay.
I tried many times, but no recognition was there from her. And then one day I felt that this is not my self worth, what I am doing. But before that, I was thinking about even suicide.
Hmm.
But then I felt that this is not a good thing. And then suddenly one day, listening Kishore Das song, I changed my mind, and that transformed me into a better being. And then I completely, now even I don't know the name of that girl. So that was my first incident from meaningless to meaningfulness. And then, of course, when I entered in engineering line, and then
Hmm.
I shifted from engineering to psychology. After doing 5 years of engineering job, I shifted to Bachelor of Arts career and
Yeah. And
entered into psychology zone. That was the next turning point, I will say, because there I was not happy. Though I am working hard, I felt that dealing with the machines is somewhat boring for me. Though a good performer, it was somewhat boring for me. And then dealing with humans will be more interesting. Then I shifted. And the third one, I will say that coupleship, when I felt again in love with a girl who said me yes. And on that day, I know that that was the day when I slept dream free and completely for 7 to 8 hours. So I will say that that is the most memorable thing. And the fourth thing I will say, when I didn't clear UPSC examination, then I shifted to professor's career and came from Pune to Kolhapur. So this was my fourth turning point. Now I am doing so much work in Kolhapur and getting recognized for that. Even now working on national education policy framework for Shivaji University, this new framework for education. So all these opportunities I have got in Shivaji University here. So I will say that at least these four things immediately they are reminding me that these may be the turning points.
Okay. And thank you for sharing that so candidly. Okay. I'll take the liberty in asking, did you marry the girl who said yes? And you can skip
Yeah,
to
yes,
answer.
yes, of course, yeah. Now there are 24 hours completed for our marriage.
Wow.
Yeah,
So you'll
yeah.
soon be stepping into silver jubilee. All right, wonderful.
Yes, yes, yes,
Glad to know
yes.
that. And again,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing those so openly. And we'll move to the next one. So, how do the
Yes.
givens of existence like death, isolation, and freedom influence in terms as how we approach the life?
Yeah, when I started teaching existentialism for students, I have designed that syllabus, and when I learned all these things, I found out that these are the four gifts of life. Actually, death is a gift of life. Means it is a full stop, and it is told to you for every moment. We are aware that we have that end point where we are going to die. So death actually is not the end point today, but it is telling us that if you are not utilizing your present constructively, happily, and fully, then you will remorse at the time of death. So death always makes us aware to understand the meaning of every moment. It is very precious one, and we should leave it very nicely. So in that sense, though all we know that there is a death, we forget that there is a death, and then we keep on different destructive things in our mind and just continue and ruining our life. So I will see death is telling us that life is very important and live it creatively and blissfully. This is one thing. And of course, many times it happens that the things are not as expected by us, and then we feel that someone is controlling us, someone is not giving recognition to us, and then we feel loneliness, we feel isolation. But that is the time which allow us to look inside. The isolation, if we see it in negative word, it is loneliness. But if we see it positively, it is isolation. So isolation is the creative space you are getting to yourself if you understand the meaning of isolation. It is saying that look into yourself and see what you want exactly, what you are doing, what are your lackiness, what are your strengths, how to move forward. So that creative isolation will help us to bring the potentials of our life in a nice manner. So I think isolation is required for creation. So this is the second thing. And I feel the last thing you have asked me about freedom, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. So many times we see that we are not free. But actually, if we see, the free will makes us human. Of course, there are hundreds of things where we don't have the direct control of the situation, but we have a good control of our perception about that situation. So in that sense, we are free. We are free to choose how we perceive. So when we perceive the things in its totality, we can understand that we are one of the parts of that situation, not the whole part. So that particular understanding of freedom brings us to choose something. And when we are choosing, of course, the other side of that coin is responsibility. So freedom is given to only those people who are responsible for their actions, who are responsible for their thoughts. So I will see freedom as a responsibility. Of course, I am taking the consequences, owning the consequences, and then I will be free. If I own the consequence, then I can choose. So sometimes what happens, people choose but only think in terms of success and not failures. We should own failures also. So this freedom is there with us. That's why the free will is becoming a human.
Right. No, I love the fact that if we choose to bear the consequences, then you have the freedom to choose as well, right? So very well put through.
Yes,
And
yes.
this is such an enlightening conversation so far. And you mentioned about this existential guilt, right? So let us
Yeah.
double click on that. So how do you define this existential guilt, and what role does it play in our sense of responsibility and also purpose?
Most of the times we generally think of life in terms of parts. But if we think it in terms of existence, then we can understand that what is the role of my existence in this universe? What is the purpose of my life? Of course, it's somewhat broader sense, we are talking. But once we get that broader picture, then our small acts become more meaningful. So the existential guilt happens sometimes because whatever I am doing for a short term goal, but it may be against my long term vision. So what is the meaning? What is the purpose? Is there anything which should be connected with the society? Should I connect with the nature? Should I connect with the spirit? So going beyond oneself. If I am thinking about myself only, my fame, my produce, then my competence, then my money, then my power, then it inflates my ego. Then I disconnect with the society. So that guilt is the existential guilt. So it asks me to go beyond myself. So connecting with the society, connecting with the larger cause, connecting with the human values, compassion, then kindness, then cooperation, then collaboration, then preserving the nature, preserving the values, and all these things, they come to us when I have a serious thought about what is feeling of guilt in me. So I think that existential guilt gives us the transformative potentials. So there are many people who have changed themselves from their own successes to connect society. So there are many people who have seen that transformation potential is there with this existential guilt. So one should face this existential guilt at least once or twice in a life.
Love it. So once you have that, then you'll be able to find your purpose and start working in
Yes,
terms
yes,
of
yes.
for the betterment of the society, right? So wonderful.
Yeah.
So glad to know that. And let's move to the next one. Now I'm curious to understand the importance of balancing this personal identity with the social connections, and also how does this loneliness fit into this struggle?
Yeah. See, mm, when our education system tries to tell us that be competent, you have to be, you have to stand in the competitive world. So most of the time it focuses on independence.
Right.
So you should be independent in terms of economics, in terms of relationship, in terms of all other things. And then no one will harm you. No one will exploit you. This kind of one-way traffic, it brings these problems. People are feeling lonely. Then people are feeling anxious. Then people are feeling isolated, feeling excluded because they themselves didn't try proactively to connect with others. But human beings, other side is they are basically social animals. And if we see the human race has grown in such a way that due to collaboration and coordination only, this kind of cultural assimilation is possible. So that is called as interdependence. So we are moving on two tracks simultaneously. One is independence, another is interdependence. But our education system focuses mainly on independence. So when the interdependency should be understood, then we can see that people are not able to cope up with that particular scenario. They are not able to make the bonds. They are not able to make the connections with the society. And then this individualism has brought certain psychosomatic diseases, which we are looking at now. And that is related with mainly the anxiety and loneliness. So these are the lifestyle diseases. So unless and until we move towards others, we try to understand the contributions of others in our lives, we should have that gratitude to understand others' contributions, even small contributions. It is not just a service. It is not just economic exchange. It is social exchange, cultural exchange, emotional exchange. And that particular bond is to be understood. And then, जैसे हम कहते हैं ना कि वसुदेव कुटुंबकम, हाँ, जियो और जीने दो. So united we live together. So that particular thing. And here, when the loneliness is faced, we should think about this.
Right.
And
Yeah,
then it helps us. Yeah.
yeah, wonderful. So for those of you who've heard this Geo or Ginedo, it is nothing but live and let live. Okay, so
Let
it
me.
is the Hindi
Yes.
version of live and let live.
Hindi version.
Awesome. So, Dr. Shirish, nowadays people are talking about finding purpose, especially after Simon Sinek's Start With Why book. Okay, so everybody
Yeah.
is now trying to help people find the purpose and all. So, you emphasize the importance of purpose, and we'd like to understand from you what are the practical steps that someone can take to find purpose, even when life feels meaningless.
Yeah. The first thing I will say that exercise mindfulness regularly. Your senses are always uh, in outward direction. Just ask them to move inward. So when we move inward and try to see the minute things and how they are organized by ourselves, then we can understand different inconsistencies between them. The thought and the behavior, the thought and the emotion. So these inconsistencies should be solved first. So that mindfulness help us to move inward and to understand how we can find the purpose. The second thing is connect with those people who are downtrodden. Connect with those who are not haves. So the people around us, the people in neighborhood, if we see there are thousands of people who are living in bad or worse condition than us. Develop that compassion. Put your ego outside and try to see how they live, how they adapt, how they see the things. And then we can understand that we are really privileged. So rather than complaining about life, we should have a gratitude about life. So that connection will help us, and it will definitely, giving will definitely give you the greater satisfaction than receiving.
Yeah, yeah.
So these two things, if we can do regularly, then they will tell us that there are thousands of things by which we can find the purpose. Of course, it may be in our domain or in others' domain. And everyone's domain has ample opportunities to connect with the society. So that should be done. So this is practically possible for every person.
Yeah. Wonderful. I love the fact that you mentioned we have to focus inward rather than outward focus. I think that will lead to mindfulness. And yeah, this is thought provoking. And we'll move to the next segment, which is like you talk about death giving meaning to life, right? How can people transform the fear of death into motivation so that they can live their life full?
About fear, we will say that it is having existential value. The fear, it means there are crores of living cells in our body. And if there is certain danger, they give us alarm. That is called as fear. So fear has the existential value, right? This is one thing. Second thing is that if you try to avoid it, it will bounce back with greater intensity. So we have to face that fear rather than avoiding it. We should not defend with the help of different types of instruments or different types of what we can say rituals. We will get short-term benefit, but the cause of that fear remains. Even if you are taking pills, the pill will help you to relieve the symptoms, not the causes. The causes demand lifestyle changes. So unless and until we face it fully, we can't change ourselves. So facing the fear is the one thing. We see in advertises also that डर के आगे जीत है. So there is a victory after
The
you
fear,
face the fear. Yeah.
conquer the fear.
So fear resides when you face it. So that's why don't get fear by fear. So we have to face it, and then that particular facing allows us at least to change the level of knowledge, to change the attitude, or to change the level of skills. And then if you can't, then directly approach the professionals who can help you in this endeavor. So, huh,
Great. All right. So, and you also mention about embracing anxiety, right, rather than avoiding it. So, how do you
yes,
think this
yes.
embracing anxiety can help someone lead a more empowered life?
I will give you directly my example. I had a experience of death-like experience, we will say, because when I was teaching for UPSC aspirants, IAS aspirants, and the schedule was so hectic, and on that day I felt weak, but still I continued my lecture. And at one moment, it happened that there was no voice coming from my mouth, though I am stuttering because no air means and then I stopped breathing. That is a near death experience for me, and it creates strong anxiety,
Yeah.
and that is conditioned with such type of fatigue. So whenever I get fatigued, I got this anxiety, death anxiety. And then it was mistermed as BP. It rises my BP, it rises my pulses, and then I got hospitalized for 2-3 times. Then doctor has given me 7 pills per day to control it. And then I started searching on it by reading different researches in medical as well as in psychology. And then I found that the BP, whether it is a cause or effect, anxiety is the cause and BP is the effect, not vice versa. And then one day I gave up all medicines in 2017. And till today, I don't have any BP. So that anxiety told me the meaning of aloneness. It has told me that just slow down, prioritize the things. You are not the person who is going to change all things by your own means. Be wise, change yourself. Then I started to become somewhat choosy, and slowly it has brought the new order in my life, which is wiser than the previous. So today I will say that I didn't conquer that anxiety fully, but above 90% I have conquered. So whenever I got fatigue, I got this date anxiety, and then I exercise mindfulness at that moment only, and within 20-25 minutes I get normal. So there is no pill now for me since 7 years. But at that time, the doctor has told my family that never allow this person to skip any pill, otherwise he will die. That was the diagnosis of the cardiologist. So see, it has a great, tremendous opportunity when anxiety you are facing, then face it, embrace it, and try to understand what it is trying to say to you. Make it friend. And then the anxiety, that's why I am telling you, it has the existential value. It asks you to exit meaningfully.
Powerful. All right. So, this is an eye opening conversation, and we have had incredible insights so far. And it's time for us to kick off the second rapid fire round with a set of intriguing questions. So, if you're ready, let's get
Yes, sir.
started.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. My first bullet is, if you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
Oh. uh, Live fully, be open.
Okay. And can you describe yourself in just one word?
Seeker.
And one philosopher you admire?
Lord Krishna.
Okay. A life lesson that changed you?
Expect the unexpected.
And then a book that inspires you?
The Indian Constitution.
A quote you live by?
Mhm. What I can say? Mm, what? Yeah, quote. I am not big enough to tell that type. but but I will say that learn and learn.
Learn, and learn. Okay. And what is the best advice for self awareness?
Mindfulness,
Okay. Here comes the
introspection.
last. Yeah. Introspection as well. Okay. And here comes the last one for the second rapid fire. What is one electronic gadget or a fantasy gadget that you like to see or invent yourself other than teleportation and time machine?
If a gadget tells me when not to use it, so I will say that it will track me when not to use it.
Wow.
So that gadget will
Nice.
be helpful for me. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. That was creative second rapid fire. And let's flip back to the mainstream. So, Dr. Shirish, what would be your advice to someone feeling stuck in life and unable to see meaning or purpose in their everyday actions?
Always we got stuck into life because there are two, three things at a time working on us. First is the things which we control. Second is the things which we are not having direct control, but there is indirect control. And third one, where there is no control. So we should see that in these three areas where we actually stuck. If it is fully under your control, then you should work for improving knowledge and skills and all these things. But if it is not under fully your control, then we should think differently. We should perceive it in a different way. We should see that it's the learning opportunity, because the nonsense handling is different from sensible handling. So nonsense is unlimited. So when I'm getting stuck, I should see that am I sensible? So this is one thing. And second thing I will tell you, ki stucking is the part and parcel of life. So there is a plateau period in our life. There is a block period in our life. There is a pause period in our life. We can't continue the same speed for years, for months. Even on road we see, we apply brakes, we change gears and all these things. The same things applies to life. So when you are stuck, it means that you have to stop there and you have to rethink and directly take the help of those people whom we see that they can solve the problem. We hesitate because we feel that this may be seen as weakness. But no. So that stucking is somewhat very easy to find the answer if you talk with those people who are able rather than those people who are honest. We see that we generally prefer honest people. Okay, they listen you carefully. Their intent is to help, but it is not that they are able to help. So we should try to find out able persons, either professionally or within our circle. Try to find out able person. And never forget that the failure gives you rich learning than success. So failure or stucking is the time for foundational learning, not just practical learning. So see the stuck in that way, and sometimes the time factor matters. So if your stucking is strong one, the incremental change is there. So be patient. So tolerating this ambiguity is the life skill.
I love it. Actually, it reminded me of one of the incidents in my friend's life. Actually, he had to quit a work which he used to do along with his brother due to some legal problems. And after that, he took a pause for about 5 to 6 months. And that helped him start a business, and which is doing really, really well. Like he's earning
Yes,
like
yes.
20 times what he
Yeah.
used to make before. Right.
Mm.
So, yeah, great. All right. So, Dr. Shirish, I have thoroughly enjoyed the conversation and loved all the insights. And it is personally enlightening to me. And thank you so much for being part of the journey. And how is your experience being hosted on TGV, the guiding voice?
Fantastic, sir. We are talking so clearly, so nicely, so informally, and you are receiving or you are a good receptor, because asking the question is different and influencing the guest is different. So you didn't influence me, you just plainly asked the questions and thoroughly enjoyed the answers. So I'm very thankful for you and your team for this opportunity.
Yeah, pleasure to have you, and looking forward to hosting you again in future. And I wish you all the best in everything that you do. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
So friends, that was our episode with Dr. Shirish Shole. And before we jump into the fun trivia section, we have a quick request in case if you have enjoyed the conversation and found it useful. Request you to share with at least 3 of your friends and colleagues who would also like TGV, the guiding voice, so spread the knowledge and also help others grow just like you have been growing. Now it's time for us to cruise into the trivia segment. Having had amazing conversation about meaning of life, death, freedom, and many more aspects of mindfulness as well, I thought I would present you few fascinating ways different cultures celebrate death. Yes, you heard it right. Some cultures celebrate death. First is Mexico, and the Day of the Dead. It is called as Dia de los Muertos. I'm sure I might have goofed up the pronunciation, so Mexicans, please ignore me. Please ignore that. But let me move forward with the fact. This Mexico celebrates deceased loved ones with colorful costumes, sugar skulls, and offerings of their favorite foods, believing spirits return for a joyful visit. Second is Indonesia, Tanah Toraja. Families keep bodies of deceased relatives at home for years, holding elaborate multi day funerals and even cleaning and parading the bodies in the Manin ceremony. And third is from Ghana, and they go with fantasy coffins. People are buried in custom made coffins shaped like items significant to them. Example, fish for fishermen. And funerals are lively events filled with music and also dance. And next is Madagascar, Famadihana, turning of the bones. And every few years, families exhume and rewrap ancestors' bones, dancing with them in a ritual to reconnect and honor the deceased. And last is about Japan, Obon Festival, and a time to honor ancestors' spirits with dances, lanterns, and family gatherings. Lanterns are floated on rivers to guide spirits back to the afterlife. So these cultures view death as a natural transition, celebrating it with unique life affirming rituals. So, folks, that's it from my side from the trivia perspective. But I would love to hear from you. Should death be celebrated? Do let me know your comments. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, you can comment there. Or if you found this episode on some audio platforms or social media platforms, you can comment there as well. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and also for being part of our awesome TGV family. So until next time, take care, stay inspired, and remember the best is yet to come. Goodbye for now. See you all in the next episode with another amazing guest. Take care. Love you all. Bye bye.